Howdy, 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 my name is Anachi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, I believe we read, let's see now, not those. Are they with some, no, yeah, no, I don't know, screw it. This episode, we're going to be reading Someone You Know, Carnivorous CNS, Mind Warp Murmuration, and Scratch and Sniff JPEG and Anything Golem. Is that the right amount of things? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, yeah. I know that we read Encyclopedia of Diseases last time, but Exit didn't look familiar to me. So, Someone You Know. It was safe, but now it's Euclid, and it says see addendum. We'll get there. It used to say, SCP-1026 is contained within a 8 by 8 meter unfurnished room. Personnel are advised not to enter the containment cell without supervision from an external observer. Now it says, SCP-1026 is contained within a reinforced cell in Sector blank. Under no circumstances are any personnel to enter the containment area. All observations will be done remotely through security cameras with a broadcast delay of no less than 13.6 seconds. No care is necessary. 1026 has no apparent need for food, water, or sleep. Alright then. 1026 is an entity that produces a powerful mental effect on any human observer who views it directly. This effect causes observers to become completely convinced that 1026 is someone who they know and trust, typically a family member or close friend. There is currently no known way to convince the observer otherwise. This effect will continue for approximately 1 hour after they are removed from its presence. Subjects that lack any close relationships, such as sociopaths, appear to be unable to see 1026 and refuse to acknowledge its existence. This effect is present even when viewed indirectly, such as through camera feeds, although this effect can be mitigated by the presence of a long enough broadcast delay. Testing has revealed that a minimum of 13.6 seconds is required to neutralize 1026's effect. When viewed in such a manner, or through other media such as photographs, 1026 appears as a blurry, roughly humanoid entity. It appears to flicker, rapidly changing height, shape, and color. It seems to be capable of speech, however, this speech sounds extremely garbled and distorted to those who are not under its anomalous effects. Those who are under its effects perceive it as perfectly normal human speech appropriate for the given situation. 1026 has also displayed reasoning and problem-solving abilities on par with those of a human, and it used to say, as well as a very docile temperament, but now it says see the addendum. The following log is an account of a test to determine the exact nature of 1026's abilities, performed just prior to Incident 1. On blankety blank blank D5582 was told to enter the testing area and perform a series of experiments to gather information about 1026's physiology. Dr. Blank oversaw the test and communicated with the disposable personnel through a speaker. D5582 enters the testing chamber carrying a video camera. What the hell? There's someone else in here! Yes, there is. Please proceed. Oh my... Mom? That's my expletive mother, you bastards! What the hell is this? That is not your mother. Please proceed with the test. Garbled speech. Don't worry, Mom. I'm going to get us out of here. Let her out now! That is not your mother. Please proceed with the... expletive, the test! I'm not doing anything until you tell me what the hell's going on! Garbled speech. I don't know, Mom. That's what I'm trying to find out. Throws a piece of equipment at speaker. Misses. Bleep you all! Begins crying. D5582. The test is now terminated. Please leave the chamber. 1026 begins to move towards D5582. I'm not leaving my mother! If you do not vacate the test chamber, I will be forced to call security. 1026 is now standing behind 5582. Looks like there's... oh, yeah, asterisk. I'm going to tell you one last time. 1026 appears to grab their shoulder, spin him around, and stare at his face. I need a security team down here! 5582 begins to violently convulse, and his body begins to flicker in a manner similar to that of 1026. Oh, Jesus, there's two of them! They move towards the test chamber door as the security team enters. End log. After the above log was created, 1026 and 5582 broke containment. Displaying unusually aggressive behavior, they proceeded to kill blank members of the security team and wound blank more. The security teams found it very difficult to respond due to the mental effect, although one of the entities, now designated as A, was lured into a temporary holding cell and recontained. The whereabouts of B are unknown, see addendum 2. Note, shit, these things can reproduce. If there's more of them out there, we could have a serious problem on our hands. Access granted. What did, oh, right. On On blank blank blank, B was located 2 miles from sector blank where A is currently being held. How it managed to cover the distance between the original facility and sector blank is currently unknown. A security team was dispatched to contain it. Data expunged, resulting in the accidental neutralization of B. Dr. Blank performed an autopsy on blank. See document B. Okay. After the accidental neutralization of B, its body seemingly lost its anomalous properties, appearing to be a normal human cadaver, identified as 5582. Dr. Blank requested permission to perform an autopsy on the entity. The following is a report is an audio log recorded during the autopsy. The date is blank blank blank. This is Dr. Blank performing an autopsy on the body of SCP-1026-B, which was killed data expunged. I'll begin by making an incision in the subject's abdomen. 25-second gap. I've just completed the first incision into the subject's abdomen. I can see no internal organs aside from a single large sac attached to the subject's vertebrae. I am attempting to open it. 19-second gap. The sac is full of fog, for lack of a better word. It appears to be much denser than air, as it's not flowing upwards. I'm taking a sample of it for later analysis. 21-second gap. I'm now attempting to open the subject's thoracic cavity. 64-second gap. Subject does not appear to possess a normal thoracic cage. Instead, there are 2 curved plates attached to the spinal column in its place. There appears to be a pair of organs beneath these. I will attempt to remove them. 69-second gap. Nice. The organs appear to be solid. I see no sign of any fluid or gas inside. I'm taking a sample for later analysis and will then attempt to examine the skull. 276 seconds gap. Time passes. The skull appears to be abnormally smooth. Cranial sutures are absent, as is the nasal cavity and most other topological features. The eye sockets are present, but lack optic canals and orbital fissures. The jaw appears to be fused to the rest of the skull, and there are no teeth. I'm going to attempt to access the brain cavity now. Time passes. The brain is entirely absent. The interior of the skull seems to be full of fog, similar to that found in the abdominal organ. I'm going to take another sample. Sorry about that. When I attempted to take a sample, the fog began glowing. I'm going to try again. Just a minute, I've got a headache all of a sudden. Jesus Christ, this hurts. What the... End log. The log was ended due to an unexpected loss of power in the autopsy room. When a security team entered, they saw no sign that an autopsy had taken place. B's body was intact, and Dr. Blank claimed to have no memory of what had happened. A subsequent autopsy revealed that B possessed normal human physiology and no anomalous properties whatsoever. That sounds like the doctor probably turned into B, and the body on the table is the doctor's body. And that because of the mental effect, they couldn't see it. That's probably what happened. Anyway, now it's time to check out what I assume stands for the carnivorous central nervous system. It's Euclid, and it is exactly what I thought. Photo courtesy of The Stranger, which is a whole other website, apparently. It's Euclid. 1027 is to be housed in a standard liquid containment tank, immersed in a saline solution. Personnel are to avoid direct physical contact with the exception of feeding staff. 1027 is to be given 1 fresh bovine brain per week. All staff involved in feeding 1027 are to wear level 4 bioprotective equipment. In event of exposure to 1027, affected personnel are to be immediately treated as instances of 1027 and subject to standard containment protocols. I was expecting them to be subject to immediate termination, not determination. They get shot, is what I thought would happen, but apparently not. 1027 closely resembles the central nervous system of a human Homo sapiens that has adapted to life outside the human body, like those brain dudes from Courage the Cowardly Dog. We are fine, we just want the cow brains, yes? Specimens currently in the possession of the Foundation measure 1.1 meters, measured from the apex of the cerebrum to the base of the sciatic nerve. I don't know what that means, I'm not a doctor. To 1.5 meters. Attached are the basic sensory structures associated with human functioning, including sensory nerve structures, eyes, and cochlea. It appears to be able to interpret signals from these systems in the same way as a human subject. However, all neural structures within 1027 are capable of movement to varying extents. This movement is most noticeable when 1027 is immersed in a liquid medium. Neural composition of 1027 appears similar to that of a human with the exception of the neuroglia? I don't know what that is. What is that? Another term for that doesn't help. The connective tissue of the nervous system consisting of several different types of cell associated with neurons. Okay then. The myelin sheathing covering the cells of 1027 is approximately 300% the thickness of that found in a healthy human adult. I would imagine so, since they're just walking around being nervous systems with nothing else. In addition to this, glial coatings on neurons of 1027 have been found to extend the full length of the cells and are apparently permeable to neurotransmitter compounds. As a result, 1027 is capable of supporting itself outside the environment of a living body, although it is most comfortable in a somewhat saline water solution. 1027 seems to feed primarily on the neurotransmitters found within mammalian brain tissue. Consumption takes place by a process similar to osmosis, in which the neuroglia of 1027 extract and absorb certain compounds. The exact process through which this is accomplished is unknown. Regular feedings render 1027 much more docile, reducing the risk of exposure. However, it seems that 1027 is capable of survival for extended periods without feeding, and it is not known at this time whether there is actually a biological need for these chemicals. When presented with live prey, 1027 will apparently merge with its nervous system, draining neurotransmitter agents over time, leading ultimately to death. However, when exposed to a living or recently deceased less than 12 hours prior to exposure human, 1027 will instead infiltrate the brain through the auditory canal. Upon breaching the meningeal membranes, the neural ganglia of 1027 will release a high dose of apparently modified dopamine compound directly into the brain, in addition to an electrical impulse measured at approximately 150 millivolts. This combination has been shown to initiate basic brain activity in 90-something% of cases. The nervous system of the subject will begin to modify itself into a new instance of 1027. The neuroglia thicken, and the entire central nervous system detaches from the host body by accelerated decomposition. To date, no specimen of 1027 has been shown to possess any memories prior to becoming detached, and have a functional intelligence level equivalent to that of a lower primate. So, if they're presented with the human, they go into the ears, zap it full of dopamine and electricity, and then it turns into a new one by the body just sort of melting off of the central nervous system. I'm imagining that scene from Bruce Almighty where Jim Carrey flicks his clothes off because he has the god powers, but instead of Jim Carrey flicking his clothes off, it's the central nervous system flicking off everything else. If that's an image you didn't want, I'm sorry, but it's out there now. Now it's time for the Mind Warp Murmuration. Let's do the Mind Warp again. It's safe, though. I wouldn't have expected something called Mind Warp to be safe, but it's probably in a box somewhere. Instances of SCP-1028 are to be kept in a large, free-flight aviary. Oh, they're birds! Okay. When needed, the feeders are to be filled with seed and berries. Once a week, the insect, earthworm, and snail population of the aviary should be checked, with more being introduced as needed. Care is to be taken to ensure that all specimens remain fairly calm, and any flora species or variety not accounted for in the building of the aviary should be removed and incinerated as per Addendum 1. Wild instances should be caught or killed. Standard traps used for the capture of similarly sized birds are suggested. Live captured specimens are to be transported individually and released into the aviary. Killed instances should be preserved and brought to the lab at site blank for dissection by research staff. Or staff researchers. I'm not sure I understand why it's safe if it's a living creature, that there are some in the wild. I was under the impression that it's at the very least Euclid if there's some that aren't contained, but I guess it's safe because they sound like they're just birds? SCP-1028 is a previously unknown species of passerine songbirds. Let's find out what that looks like. Boop. I guess it's just birds that sing in general. So that looks like it's a sparrow, which are adorable, and I'm surprised humans have not domesticated those yet. With some aspects of physiology, size, and genetics pointed towards an inclusion in family Sternidae starlings. Starlings are also kind of nice looking, but I wouldn't want a pet starling. They seem like they'd scream all the time. All discovered instances have had brilliant iridescent plumage. Ooh, iridescent sparrows would be amazing! There's no uniformity to the color of the individual instances, leading some to suspect that 1028 is actually several subspecies, each with a different dominating color. No sexual dimorphism has been observed in the species. Instances of 1026-28 rather produce the usual complement of songs, calls, and vocalizations usual to their order. Most calls produced by specimens have had no effect on other animals, and many humans find them pleasant to hear. The unusual properties of 1028 appear strongest when a large flock are observed flying. When a flock of 25 or more instances are flying together, the flock appears to scintillate, creating a dazzling effect on observers. This dazzling effect is not limited to human observers, as dogs, cats, foxes, and other predators have been observed to act in a stunned manner when passed by a large enough flock. So, like, stunned like a flash grenade? The sharp, high-pitched mobbing call produced by instances has a similar effect to the flocking. It not only calls more instances to the area, but also induces a dazed effect in predatory species. Affected individuals claim to have observed flashes of light punctuating each call. So it's exactly what I just said. The flash grenade birds. Those affected by either form of dazing, enter a state of altered perception lasting for a length of time proportional to the time spent viewing or hearing instances. The existence of 1028 was brought to the attention of the Foundation when a large traffic accident occurred in blank blank, which resulted in blank casualties and blank hospitalizations. None of the witnesses saw the accident, but all reported seeing a multicolored flock of birds. An interview with one of the witnesses is reproduced below. Eyewitness to flock of 1028. Interviewer Dr. Blank, one of the surviving eyewitnesses to the flock that brought 1028 to the Foundation's attention. Can you tell me what happened the afternoon we found you in blank? I was walking down the street, and suddenly this big flock of birds was flying overhead. They were brilliant! I swear, they were every color imaginable. They seemed to shimmer and sparkle in the sky. They got so bright I had a hard time looking at them after a while, but I couldn't stop staring. What happened then? You wouldn't believe me if I told you. I'm very open-minded. I really would like to hear what happened next. There was a sudden flash of light, and when I looked around me, everyone was gone. Gone? Please explain. The buildings were still there, and the parked cars, but there was nobody driving in the street, nobody around at all. And the buildings and the parked cars, they had plants growing on them, like, you know how kudzu or ivy covers everything? Well, this was like that, but the plants were weird. In what sense? The colors were, wrong. If at all possible, please go into more detail. The leaves weren't green, they were blue or, purple. They were these flower-like things. No, they were like dandelion puffs, but more cage-like. I know it sounds crazy, or like I had an acid flashback or something, but really, for a while, I was wandering around in the same neighborhood, but completely alone, and with these weird plants growing on everything, but after a while, people and things started to fade back in, and suddenly I saw that there was a massive traffic accident. Cars had crashed, people had been hit, chaos everywhere. And what did you think of that experience? That I was lucky I didn't wander into the street. End log. The subject was given a Class B amnestic and released. Addendum 1. It appears that when instances of 1028 are in distress for a prolonged period of time, an emergence of one or more sprouts of unusually colored flora begin to grow in the vicinity of this distressed animal. Regardless of what species an emergent sprout resembles, all grow at a rate similar to that of kudzu. Individuals who have been exposed to both the effect of specimens and have seen the outgrowths claim a resemblance between the new plants and what they saw while affected. In light of this, new procedures have been added to the containment. And what is a kudzu? I feel like I've checked this before, but that doesn't mean I remember. I was hoping for a picture of the plant, not a bottle of medicine. Okay, cool. It's purple and it's pretty. And I don't think I've ever seen one for real. Okay, 1029, scratch and sniff JPEG. That raises some questions. It's safe. A reduced scale reproduction of 1029 not exhibiting its effect. Well, I mean, obviously you can't scratch that. I can scratch my laptop screen, but that's not going to help anything at all. 3 copies of 1029 are currently stored on standard CDR media in the secure sections of Foundation libraries at sites blank, blank, and blank. Access is permitted only for authorized research into the cause of its effect. Description: 1029 is a 683 by 1024 pixel EXIF JPEG image file with MDS checksum BBB61A10339637E337E1C691BD1C860FE. It depicts a stalk of purple flowers of the species Hyacinthus orientalis. When displayed full size on a computer monitor and the surface of the screen is gently rubbed with a finger, skin proximity appears to be necessary to trigger a reaction. The flower's distinctive fragrance is released in the manner of a scratch and sniff card. Air samples taken while rubbing 1029 induce the perception of the same floral scents when later sniffed by test subjects, suggesting that 1029 has a definite physical rather than purely mental effect. Chemical analysis of air samples is in progress. For the image's unusual response to occur, pixel-for-pixel reproduction of 1029 appears to be necessary, along with the color rendition capable of differentiating all of the color values present within the image. While most CRT monitors are capable of showing the effect with no specific adjustment, many low-end LCDs and most panels older than blank years have failed to yield a detectable smell. It should, however, be noted that 1029's odor does not vary in strength depending on the image quality. It is simply not produced at all if the image was not reproduced with certain parameters. Reducing the image's color depth, rescaling it to a smaller size, or applying any lossy image processing or editing procedure, including JPEG recompression, have been found to produce an image which does not display the anomalous effect. Lossless rotation by a multiple of 90 degrees, lossless conversion to PNG or TIFF format, or cropping of up to blank pixels off the right edge or blank pixels off any other edge have been found not to affect the image's properties. Uncorrupted digital copies of the file in any form or medium appear to retain the properties of 1029. In a sense, all such copies are 1029. It was discovered by Agent Blank on a web image gallery at URL data expunged on blankety blank blank while using a touchscreen computer. Agent noticed the image's reaction to being rubbed and saved a copy for further study. The full-size original image, 4752 by 3168 resolution, produced by a blank 500 blank camera, according to his EXIF metadata, has also been downloaded from the same site and does not seem to exhibit the same property as 1029. Thumbnails and other derived images on the same site are also similarly lacking in 1029's effect. Researcher Blank has been tasked with attempting to discover a suitable combination of software and settings which, when applied to this full-size image, reproduce 1029. Agent Blank has been tasked with cracking into the web server, ascertaining the extent of distribution of 1029, and removing it from public view. The file is to be replaced with a recompressed version of 1029 verified not to exhibit any unusual effect. Any log accesses to 1029's URL to be traced and contained. The website is to be monitored for any reappearance of 1029. Addendum. While output from inkjet and laser printers, even when carefully calibrated and apparently meeting 1029's criteria, do not display any response to rubbing, dye sublimation prints of 1029 have been found to produce fragrance with little tweaking required. It has been suggested that this is due to the dithering, dottiness, of inkjet and laser prints versus the continuous tone output of the dye sublimation process. I don't know what that is. Another addendum. A correlation between sweat on the skin and odoriferous intensity has been observed. Dr. Blank triggered the effect with an unusually sweaty finger shortly after an episode of strenuous exercise in the gym. The smell was later described as overpowering. This suggests a phenomenon in which sweat, or some component thereof, is being converted to a specific odor molecules. Investigation into this process is ongoing. And this SCP doesn't really seem to be linked to anything, it's just out there being weird by itself, and now it's time for the anything Golem. And it's Euclid. SCP-1031 is to be kept in a 7x5 meter holding cell under video surveillance and staffed by one guard. It used to say minimal furnishing is allowed as one does not appear to be able to experience comfort and pain. Now it says there are to be no tangible objects in the cell except one word processor terminal to be built into the wall of the cell. One may request materials for self-repair by typing it on this terminal. Staff are to place materials in the airlock between the observation booth and the holding cell, then vacate the airlock before one is given access to it. Under no circumstances should one be given any sharp objects or potential writing utensils. Any attempt by one to draw or carve 2 shall result in revoking of word processor privileges until later review. Any resulting instances of 3 should be reverted by removal of 2, or if more convenient, destroyed by fire. Alright then, SCP-1030-1 is a humanoid figure approximately 1.65 meters tall, constructed of various objects. As of one blank blank blank, I don't know where I got one from. It is composed of a pair of shoes, a computer mouse, a garbage can, 4 meters of rubber hose, crushed remains of a push cart, a personal digital organizer, a lab coat, a pair of glasses, and blank 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 blank. Objects integrated into one corrode, rot, or otherwise decompose at an accelerated rate. Heavily damaged objects are expelled and replaced by an unknown force using other nearby objects capable of roughly filling the vacated space. Objects may contort or break if necessary, but preference is given to objects requiring a minimum amount of effort. Ruined items are not expelled until a replacement is found. One has expressed that keeping damaged items integrated is painful. The only constant feature on one is the presence of a complex symbol, hereafter 2, that becomes engraved on the back of whatever analog one is using for a head. Part of the symbol includes the Hebrew word that. Let's find out what that is. I feel like I probably know somewhere in the back of my mind what that means from like hearing about golems, but I don't know offhand. It seems to be the word life. One expresses periodic desire to copy this symbol onto other objects. Any objects marked in this way, known as 3, become animate with some control by 1 as long as they are within blank meters of 1. Beyond that range, 3 invariably become hostile, seeking out and attempting to harm any humans in any way possible. Removal or destruction of any portion of 2 reverts such items to their original inanimate state. Recovery notes. 1 was initially contained following stories of a monster near a garbage dump in blank Czechoslovakia. Agents captured 1 on blank blank 19-something using powerful magnets, as much of its body was composed of scrap metal at the time. 1 offered no violent resistance, attempting only to flee at first contact and ceases attempts after several minutes. Addendum 1, Deviant Behavior / New Containment Procedures. 1 has begun attempting to place 2 on any object it can access with mixed success. New containment procedures forbidding the presence of non-repair objects implemented due to extra security measures needed for animated furniture. Walls and floor are now padded fabric due to the severe structural damage caused by animation of walls and floor. Computer terminal resolution and size have been reduced following input of ASCII version of 2 that resulted in violent animation of a computer terminal. Following implementation of new containment procedures, 1 has ceased regular movement and refused to type on the terminal except for the word alone once a day. Addendum 2, Incident Report. Following initial testing or replication of 2, 1 was denied access to any objects for self-repair purposes with the aim of coercing 1 into explaining why the symbol wasn't effective when copied by Foundation personnel. The word processor was also removed. 1 was told to respond by signing letters into the air. After 22 days with no useful response, 1's components appeared to be in severe disrepair. After the subject was observed to sit for several hours without motion, then head researcher Dr. Blank entered the cell with a sealed metal box of debris on a pushcart. Current containment procedures were not in place, stating intention to tempt 1. The resulting video record has been preserved for study. Doctor enters the containment cell, pauses while door is sealed behind him, and shakes cart. 1 rises to feet, immediately makes defensive or warding gestures with arms. Dr. Blank takes 2 steps towards 1 with the cart, at which time Dr. Blank's glasses appear to fly off his face and replace a disintegrating cardboard tube as 1's thumb. Doctor feels his face, then lets go of the cart and turns to the door. Doctor, facing door, appears to leave ground, flying backwards towards 1. The entire body, data expunged violently by an unidentified force with no apparent regard for previous anatomical functions. 1 drops to knees and repeatedly slams own head at the time of waste paper bin against the back wall containment cell for approximately 30 seconds. 1 rises, rocking its body, and begins stroking Dr. Blank's head and back, currently located data expunged. Dr. Blank ceases movement. Pushcart accelerates towards 1, discarding box of debris. Cart is crushed and reshaped by unknown means, replacing portions of Dr. Blank, which are expelled onto the floor. Box accelerates towards 1. Box is crushed, exposing items inside. Box and all items integrated into 1. All previous components of 1 have now been replaced. 1 sits in corner of cell. Security and cleanup crews enter. No reaction from 1. Addendum 3. Unprompted writing. 1 does not typically initiate communication except to request new materials and only offers minimal response to questions. However, on one occasion, approximately 1 hour after fruitless questioning had ended regarding one's origins, one entered the following on the terminal in its cell. Was man. Man lived. Man would die. Maker came down. Maker said, you live. You make. Maker marked man. Man lived. Man made things. Man died. Things made man. Man lived again. Man made. Man lived. Man made. Man lived. Man made. Man lived. Man made. Man lived. Man made. Ask Maker, man die please? Man's so tired. Maker said, no. Man has mark. Mark is on head. Mark in head too. No mark too good. Always remember. Cannot forget mark. Mark is life. Note: following review of the above writing sample, simultaneous and contradictory requests have been filled by co-heads Doctors and blank and blank. Dr. Blank requests total cessation of all visual study of 2. Dr. Blank requests approval for use of D-Class personnel for expanded research into the tattoo reproduction and memorization of 2. 05 response pending. So one doctor wants to just leave it alone, and the other doctor's like, let's do more! Because it's the SCP Foundation, and that's what they do. So, that being said, that about does it for this episode of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the next episode, we're going to be checking out Red Light Enforcement Module, the Prediction Clock, 33-second Man, Dollmaker's Kit, and Decomposition Mitten. That sort of rhymes, and probably is terrifying. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe would be groovy. If you didn't, you need to do either one of those things, and I will see y'all in the next one. Later!